Doug Gottlieb, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing, is joining us. Does a radio show on Fox Sports Radio after ours. So let me start with the AD thing. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, last night I watched the whole thing. I mean, he can just embarrass you. It's very hard to stop. But Doug, you played college basketball. You still play basketball. You can change elements of your game slightly, but guys are what they are. The guys that lead, the guys that are tough, it's hard to go from tough to finesse. You are what you are. When I watch AD, I see unbelievable talent, but I don't see a take a game over 4 minutes left guy in the playoffs. I haven't his entire career. And I know that comes off as harsh, but is it fair?
It's absolutely fair. And I think LeBron knows it. And I think of the things that LeBron has accomplished leading his team, being the 1 seed in the West actually pales in comparison to what he's done to build up Anthony Davis's confidence in these situations. You're right. Now, in fairness, he hasn't been in the situations at this level of the NBA. When he's been in the playoffs, he's kind of disappeared previously, but he was kind of the lone wolf at times when he's in New Orleans. So your analysis is correct. He doesn't really have that dog in him. But here's the parallel, okay? And the late Kobe Bryant told me this. I'll never forget it. And he said, you know, when Pau Gasol came to play for the Lakers, the reputation of Pau Gasol was he was Euro soft, right? He could be a tough guy in the regular season. You get down to the postseason, and he didn't have it. And then, of course, he wins a couple championships with Kobe Bryant, and he's one of his favorite teammates ever and was seen as a great competitor. So that's the challenge to LeBron James. And I think you've seen this process build the entire season where LeBron has tried to get him going. And if you watch, early in the year when they lost to the Clippers, the coaching staff broke down the film and look, AD disappeared. He has an advantage, especially against Clippers inside. Now, last night he was more outside because when he was playing 5 and he had Rudy Gobert guarding the bucket. But you're right in your analysis. The Lakers know it. LeBron knows it. He's trying to get, and that's the big challenge for Anthony Davis once we get into postseason play.
All right, I'm gaga on Zion. Listen, I get this way. I've been covering this for a long time. So when I get these Tiger Woods, these Andrew Lucks, these Patrick Mahomes, it's so fun because, Doug, we get maybe two a decade where you get these all-time players. I love Zion. But I know you're saying to yourself, Colin, pump the brakes a little. What concerns you with Zion Williamson today?
He just consistently falls out of shape way too quickly. That's really it. I mean, if you watched, last night there's some jaw-dropping plays, but there's no ability, maybe desire, but ability to play defense because it exhausts him. So, look, he's playing the 5. He's an undersized 5 like no one's ever seen in terms of explosiveness. Obviously, he's got to develop a jump shot. I think it's reasonable to think his shot's not broken. All the volume of shots, eventually you'll have to guard him out to 3-point range. Right now, you do not. But his body concerns me. He cannot play long stretches now. He cannot play long, consecutive games without getting hurt previously in his career. Happened at Duke, happened in the Summer League, happened earlier in the NBA. So his body, and I understand that he had to take time away from the bubble to tend to a family matter, but that didn't mean that he couldn't go running. That didn't mean that he couldn't monitor his diet because he has not looked nearly ready in terms of his physical condition. I know everybody's going off an Instagram picture where he's yoked. Dude's yoked. He's football strong. He's thick, but he appears to his body. He's got what they call the fat gene in the NBA. Like Darren Williams used to have this, right? Where if you don't play basketball for 5 days, all of a sudden you're like, damn, what happened to this dude?
Yeah.
He's still a great athlete, but the injury risk, the thought of planting and something going wrong really alarms me. I like everything else except for maybe the sudden lack of desire to play defense.
Yeah. So I was saying this morning. I think Aaron Rodgers has really handled himself well with the Jordan Love stuff. He's been really smart, really an adult, no passive aggressive. He's been upfront totally. The Packers haven't, but Aaron's been great. But this morning it was funny. I was looking at a story on Aaron, and it says he's 37 in December. And I'm like, I feel like I've been watching Tom Brady. I mean, Ichiro was Rookie of the Year. LeBron was a junior in high school. Yeah. And Aaron's gotten sneaky old fast. Yeah. And I was like, the analogy I use is the Hanks Clooney. When looks are the driving force, Tom, you age fast because there's always a better looking guy, Ryan Gosling, right, than Clooney. But with Hanks, it was never about that. So he's aged so gracefully. And I will look at Aaron right now, and he doesn't run like Lamar. He doesn't play like Wentz or Mahomes at his best. He feels like he's sneaky old to me. 37 in December. Does he to you?
Yeah. But I would also think that this is part of what's happened with Tom Brady. It's part of what's happened with Drew Brees, is that they've 40 is the new 30, so to speak. I'm going to disagree with you in terms of how everything's been handled. I like Aaron. I consider him a friend, and I understand that he emotionally feels like they're coming for his job. No one on earth thinks Jordan Love will be ready to play this year, let alone next year. And if you have no preseason this year, he's not going to play under center for the Green Bay Packers unless it's week 17 and they don't need Aaron Rodgers to play, right? And even then, he's not going to play in the first 2 years. So that would take him to where he's 38, going to be 39. And it's reasonable for any football franchise to have a backup plan, to have a succession plan when a guy is 39 years old. Right? And this is a very specific, and he in his interview with Good Morning Football, he's like, look, the situation, the circumstances aren't the same. Brett talked about retirement. I don't want to retire. Like, look, the whole move to get Jordan Love makes sense. They don't need a quarterback, but they do need a succession plan in case he continues on a downward trend. Now, here's where I'll disagree with you. I saw the NFL rankings, top 100 players, like, is laughable.
Yeah.
Right? Mahomes is the best player in the league. Russell Wilson is considered the second best quarterback in the league. And Aaron Rodgers is the third best quarterback in the league. And in all honesty, if you wouldn't take Deshaun Watson ahead of Lamar Jackson for a season, for one game, I don't know what you're watching. And I think Lamar Jackson has far exceeded anybody's reasonable expectations, but he's going to have to show the ability to throw the football, when it's third in California or when they get behind the playoffs, which he has not. All the rest have. So I'm not as down on Aaron in terms of his present or his future as maybe you are, but I also think it's completely reasonable for the Green Bay Packers to look for a succession plan. Because as you pointed out, like when you tell people he's going to be 37, and if you cut out the outlier is Tom Brady, what Tom Brady has done is literally has never been done in the NFL before. And even Tom Brady showed great signs of age over the past 2 seasons. Drew Brees did as well. And you're playing in the cold of Green Bay. It's completely reasonable. And the Hanks thing and the Clooney thing, whatever, he's aged relatively gracefully. He's had some injuries along the way. The Packers have screwed it up. They choked away that one game in Seattle, but it's reasonable to have a succession plan, whether he's Hanks or Clooney in this analogy.
Hey, it was pretty good right there. By the way, I don't want to go too far in the weeds on this, but I was telling Joy is that the commissioners of these leagues have done a better job than a lot of the governors. I think UFC and golf have been great. MLS, NBA bubbles, hockey bubbles been, from what I haven't watched yet, but very good. The draft, free agency, I'm kind of blown away by everything. I think baseball's been good, but the Marlins and the Cardinals, guys made poor decisions. The good teams haven't. But the question mark sport for me is really college football. You love it. Joy loves it. I love it. Today, Doug, we're going to have college football.
I believe we are. I believe there'll be a substantial number of players that opt out. I talked to a college basketball coach this weekend, and what he said was, and this is, my point has always been, you're safer in whatever bubble environment on campus than you are off campus. And it's not because you have a complete sealed up bubble like you do in the NBA, which is the safest. But it's because at least the coach has some form of control. You have doctors and the ability to test people. When you're at home, everybody's running free. The problem is the liability, okay? I don't think any college coach or administrator ever wants to put a player in a position where they could die.
Yeah.
But they also don't want that blood on their hands. That brings down not just their program, but the entire sport. And that's what leads everybody to being hesitant. I have a niece who's off to the SEC. 30% of their classes are online at Auburn. 70% are in person. So they're going back to school. I understand this idea that you can't trust young people to follow whatever protocols you want. The problem is you also can't trust them when they're at home either. That also applies if they stay home and we don't have it.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so, look, I think they're going to have it. I do think that money is a big motivator. And I think that if the players are there and the students are not, I think it's a much safer bubble.
Yeah.
And, everybody's taking classes online. Nothing really changes. I think they're going to have it. I just don't know if all the star players will play. A lot of the guys that are opting out are doing so because they want to protect their draft stock, not truly because of their health. I don't actually believe that they believe they're unhealthy.
All right, good stuff.
And, hey, I got one more thing for you. All right. How come Frank Vogel hasn't gotten any discussion of Coach of the Year?
Because Nick Nurse and Billy Donovan have shocked us. So in most years, Vogel would get it. I just think what Nick Nurse has done is ridiculous.
Well, Nick, I played for Nick. He was an assistant coach in the USBL. Okay, he was a head coach in England, and he was our assistant coach in Enid. He is a brilliant coach, dude from Iowa, who he worked his way up the ladder. And I agree that he, to me, and Frank Vogel. Remember, Vogel took over an absolute dumpster fire. He was their second choice. They wanted Ty Lue to be the coach, and then everybody said, "Oh, Jason Kidd is the assistant coach. He'll get the job mid-season." They have the best record in the NBA, and and I think Billy's done a great job. And it's really hard to argue with. I mean, Nick Nurse didn't even get it, and he probably should have. But I do think that Vogel should be in that conversation. But congrats to Nick Nurse. That team is so well coached.
Oh my God!
To watch them eviscerate the Lakers defense the other night was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, he is really sharp. He's on our show today. The Doug Gottlieb. Thanks, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.